HCG is a hormone used for weight loss. Straight out to Kathleen Mason, who prescribed HCG weight loss for Mrs. Seacat, but you believe that the syringes and the diet supplements seen in court were not hers, they were his. What are the implications of that, and why do you believe that?
Well, first of all, the syringes were 3 cc syringes. The vials themselves only contain 1 cc of reconstitute and 1 cc of HCG. So it makes up to a complete 1 cc because one is liquid and one is powder. It would be impossible to utilize that and use it for weight loss because you don't have a syringe small enough to measure that. However, if you were using it to come off of drugs, that when they do steroids to juice is what it's called, they use HCG to resume their own testosterone production. In order to do that, the dosage is actually 5,000 international units 3 times a week for a week, and there were 3 boxes, and they were each 5,000 units.
Well, Kathleen, we all know the phrase roid rage, and that is when you're taking too much testosterone that it can create a feeling of rage and anger, and that's why they've coined the term roid rage. Are you suggesting perhaps that Brett Seacat was suffering from something like that?
I think he has a distinct possibility that he has been a juicer in the past and has utilized HCG to come down off of it. That is not in any way, shape, or form what I prescribed.
So that is extraordinary, and I want to go out to our legal team, Stacey Honowitz, a Florida prosecutor, as well as our whole entire team. But Stacey, this is new information. Nobody has talked about this. The equipment, the diet supplement equipment that was in court, this lady says that's not what I gave Vashti. So it could be his. It was found in his tackle box, allegedly. Does that put a whole new spin on this case?
Well, you really don't need a new spin on the case because the fact of the matter is he was convicted of her murder and the arson and neglecting a child endangerment of the children. But certainly what we've been hearing about in the press thus far about this case, it does take a new spin if nobody was able to identify that those were her supplements in court. And certainly the idea that it was found in his tackle box was never brought into court because I'm sure his lawyers didn't want anybody to know that. So I'd be interested in knowing how it was presented in court and who testified that those were, in fact, the HCG drugs that were prescribed to her by a physician.
Well, let's go to Ted Rowland, CNN correspondent who was in court for the duration. This was a big controversy. The family of Vashti, listening to her getting basically dragged through the mud. He was claiming she was sleeping on the job with other men and that she was taking the supplements. You just heard new information that the person who prescribed her supplements says, that's not what I prescribed her. Anyway, I prescribed it a long time ago, and says that could belong to him.
And that's what the prosecution alleged in the closing arguments. Remember, they brought the tackle box out, and they said that this is Brett Seacat's. In fact, when he was on the stand, they brought the tackle box out and said, is this yours? He said, no, it isn't. Well, there was an email in there from his email account to his email account with a recipe for steroids, and the prosecution basically said to this jury, this wasn't Vashti's, this was his, and he was doing steroids.